Starting a new business can be an exciting and rewarding journey, but it can also be a daunting task, especially when it comes to funding. In this video, we'll walk you through some of the most popular funding options available to small business owners and entrepreneurs, from traditional loans to some more alternative funding sources. We got you covered. Welcome to day 3 of our Small Business Week special live stream. My name is Josh from the University of La Verne's Small Business Development Center. And here at the SBDC, we help small businesses start and grow with free one-on-one consulting and free business resources just like this one. And we help small businesses start and grow. We partner with a bunch of chambers who are also helping us live stream this on Facebook. We put out stuff on LinkedIn and YouTube like we're streaming right now, and we just get the word out and help small businesses, period. But before we begin, if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below, and periodically we'll throw out links and resources. I'll put up some stuff from our companion article for this video. And if you have anything, let me know. We'll answer stuff from the chat and the comments from all of our platforms and answer any questions that you might have. So let's get to our first one, which is going to be bootstrapping. So a lot of people will actually not think of this as a viable funding option, because if your business is going to be a little bit more than what you think of as far as funding and getting started up, this might be no-go on the list right from the start. But it's also a good idea to at least work in a business plan, which is what we do here at the University of La Verne, SBDC, and kind of get an idea of what's it going to take to start up. What kind of funding are you actually going to need? Because a lot of people will just pull it out of their head. I need, $10,000 or something like that, or $50,000, in which case, when they do the business plan, it might be a lot less, it might be different. So having that kind of planning ahead of time will actually help you when it comes to funding, if it's bootstrapping, loans, or anything else like that. But for bootstrapping, most of the time, you're going to have a full-time job, and you can do what's called moonlighting or the side hustle, kind of building up your business, building up your client base, and generally building up enough revenue so that you can maybe go full-time with this and replace your actual job that you're kind of funding this business venture with. So that's one of the things that you can do right off the bat. So the next thing is going to be, which might be a little bit more weary about, that would be friends and family. I know a lot of times, a lot of people don't want to ask their friends and families to help for their business, especially if they're asking for money. But asking for money is not the only thing you should be doing, or that you can do when you're looking for either friends or family to help you with the business. You can ask them to be a partner, besides, getting a loan. So having that relationship with people that you might know and coming up with things for them to actually help you with might be the way to go. Now, there are some things that you need to understand. When it comes to working with friends or family, you have to, one, know who the person is, know what their motivations are with the business, and also make sure you drop some definitive and detailed documents when it comes to any type of loan, any agreement for partnership and things like that, the basic business stuff that you would need. And so for a lot of times, people will just go into business and we'll go in 50-50, which is great. But if you're deadlocked in a decision that you have to make, if one wants one and one wants the other, who's gonna break that tie? So you have to understand what those decision-making kind of details are going to be, so that you can understand, how you're going to move forward with working with a friend or working with a family member as a business partner and not just a source of funding for the business. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. Do you work with friends or family? You can throw them down in the comments below. But that's kind of the thing that we're talking right now, talking alternative funding sources. But now that you figured out, you could do bootstrapping, that's fine. You can do friends or family and kind of figuring out what you can do with smaller sources or partnering with somebody. Let's get into the more traditional types of funding when it comes to starting up your business, which is going to be loans. Now, the first one I put up here is not necessarily a loan per se. It's more of what's called a line of credit. A HELOC is a home equity line of credit. And there's a few things you kind of need to know about this as a funding source. Number one, you need to own a home. Like you need to be paying on a home, not renting or anything else like that. And how this, equity line of credit, if you've never heard of a line of credit before, is basically a revolving type of loan or similar to a credit card. So you're able to tap into whatever equity there is in the home if you've been paying it off for a certain period of time. So you can get money and spend it on something else, start it for a business or anything else like that. Now, you have to also understand if something goes wrong, your home is at risk. So this is not usually something we would push somebody into kind of flippantly, or, if you have a home, use use a HELOC, use that before you get a business loan. That might not be the best decision for yourself. So you want to understand what those risks are before you get into something like that. But for now, let's transition over to another type of loan that is most popular with a lot of our business owners, is going to be the microloan. Now, a microloan is a smaller loan under $50,000. It's usually done through a community development financial institution, or called CDFI. They're smaller, mostly nonprofit kind of lenders. Interest rates tend to be a little higher than normal, somewhere between 8 and 13%. But those will vary based on your credit and other factors for the business. You'll definitely need a business plan for all of these loans. You're definitely going to need a business plan, and there are some loans and microloan resources that we can show you. So let's go here. So for microloans, the SBA has a lot of information about that. Again, there's information about $50,000, what you can use it for. And right here where it says SBA approved intermediaries, you can actually go here and it'll actually give you a list of lenders by state. So you can look up who's a microloan or who is a micro lender and how you're going to be able to connect with them to get a microloan. But for the most part, they're probably just going to send you back to SBDC so that you can create a business plan. And that's what you can do here. If you're looking to get a microloan or any kind of business loan, look up your local SBDC so that we can help you with the business plan. We can help you figure out how much you're going to need, how you're going to be using it, how you're going to be paying it back. Because a lot of that information, just like I said, when it came to the checklist on day one, you're going to need to know those financial projections. You're going to need to know the answer to those questions. So that's one of the things that that we work with other lenders, and what we do as an SBDC, we help people with business planning and helping them access capital to start their business. But let's go back to another type of loan that you might be looking at And now here's where we get into the realm of the SBA, which is the SBA loans, specifically the 7A loan. And this is going to be one of the most popular loans for that most small businesses get. It's anywhere, up to 5 million. You would need some kind of usually equity contribution, down payment, some skin in the game when it comes to getting a loan. The rates tend to be a little bit more variable when it comes to interest rates for the loan itself. But you can use it for, purchasing a business, if you were buying a business, possibly refinancing some debt or some equipment purchases, inventory, working capital, things like that. So the 7A loan is a very multi-purpose loan when it comes to funding your business or even starting up a new business. But on the other side, there is a different kind of loan that small businesses can kind of take advantage of. It's a little bit different than the 7A, which is also the 504. Now, 504 is going to be a little bit different, and I'll actually show you some resources and a little bit of the differences. But with the 504, you can go anywhere between 125,000 or so up to a few million, I believe 5 million for the SBA side, which I can kind of talk to you about. And then, up to 20 million because you are able to utilize a commercial lender. So let's break that down a little bit because not everybody knows how this actually works. So what I mean is that with a 504, there are three parties involved. You have you, the business owner. Then you have a CDC, which has about 40% financing for their part, and then a commercial lender, which will do the last 50%. And so this is basically kind of like a two-part loan. You have one mortgage with one mortgage with the other, and they kind of group together, and you have to put in a 10% contribution. Now, for more details about how the SBA 7A and the 504 loan actually work, and all the nitty gritty about the differences and which one I should do, you can check out our blog post right here on the differences between the 7A and the 504. And so it has a bunch of different, all the differences, the loan amounts, the loan structure, term length, interest rates, because a lot of those interest rates might be a little bit different. And even now, since interest rates have risen in the last few months, these things probably won't be all the same here, but you can actually go to the link where you can see the interest rates, what they've raised to, and get a better idea of what you're going to be dealing with when it comes to a small business loan for basically anything, 7A, 504, or even a commercial loan. So let me pause real quick for questions. I know I just went through a bunch of different things all at the same time. If you have any questions, throw them down in the comments below. But it looks like we have one. Question is there any data out there for SBA loans by industry? So if you're looking to get information about who gets funded and where and maybe even how much, there are some resources from the SBA themselves. Let's go to here. So the SBA is required to put out what's called Freedom of Information. This is the Freedom of Information Act. You can actually request information, but the SBA actually provides a lot of this stuff for you. So it'll be in this link. And right here, so you can look at stuff on Paycheck Protection, the EIDL loan that was during COVID, restaurant revitalization, and 7A and 504. If you follow these links, you can find the information for all the loans that were funded over the last 20, maybe even 30 years. So if you want to take a look and see what gets funded and by who, you could actually take a look at that and you would have to. It's a huge spreadsheet that you would have to look through, but it's pretty detailed, and it actually is very organized by business name, by funder, location, and things like that. As far as for funding, but let's take a look at. Somebody had a question before. Let's see. Any tips for raising funds from family? Yeah, there's a few of them. So I think I touched on this before. You want to make sure that one, you know who you're getting into quote unquote bed with. You want to know who you're getting into business with, their temperament, disposition, how you're going to be making decisions. Is it going to be 50-50, 51-49? But laying out in detail who's going to be making most of the decisions of the business. Otherwise, for on the loan side and for agreements, drop some kind of detailed, either as an email or even as what's called a promissory note, something detailed. How much are they giving you? How much are you paying back? Is there interest involved? How that's going to be taken care of, and make sure you have those details and those documents at the ready in case any questions come up later. You don't want to be blindsided and get into trouble because this person said one thing a couple years ago, and now things are changing, and you want to make sure that you have all those details kind of ironed out as you're going through that loan process, paying back the loan, or getting any kind of funding from family. But I hope that answers your question. Let's take a look at some other kind of funding options. Now, here's where we're going to get into one of the more controversial territories. Let's talk about grants. Now, grants are kind of a touchy subject. Actually, grants, as far as funding for businesses, especially funding for startups, I know here in California, for LA, we had the California Dream Fund. And money for, especially grant money that goes to starting up a business, is a relatively new kind of phenomenon that's never happened before. But it did happen. It was a program that was going. We're not really sure if it's going to be coming back at any point, but that is one program that was, you were able to get money to start up a business. But for the most part, grants are not really geared towards doing that. Grants are usually for nonprofits or for other types of kind of businesses or organizations for some kind of public good. And for the most part, like this first one, let's change that real quick, because the first one I'm going to talk about is the SBIR, which is specifically for conducting innovative research. Very research heavy. If you're looking into a new technology or a new method of doing things, medical research, anything like that, what you're going to do is apply for an SBIR. So let's take a look at that, because the government also has some information on SBIRs, and this is where we get a lot of our information as well. There's a lot of here, what an SBIR is, what are other grants for research. Again, a lot of this stuff is going to be heavily research-based, developing new methods, new technologies, and things like that. So a lot of this stuff is going to be to stimulate technological innovation and just a lot of research-heavy things. And so we do have a link about this in the companion article for this video, but there's another one similar to the SBIR, and that's the STTR, which is the one for what's called Small Business Technology Transfer. This one works a little bit different. It is more geared towards technology and actually coming up with a new technology itself. But it's also kind of fosters the partnership between educational institutions where a lot of this research happens, and then partnering with some kind of small business to actually bring that to market. And sometimes there's a partnership there to commercialize whatever innovation to into the public into the public marketplace. So it's not really something. I don't really have a kind of good example of this. A lot of technologies have done, especially from like NASA, how they transferred over into the public, like the purple mattress or, aerogel or, the space pen or all kinds of different things that were used for NASA now become technologies and products used for in everyday things. The microwave is one of those, and just a bunch of other, day-to-day things that we might not think were actual products that we would use actually ended up being products that we use in daily lives. So stuff like that started out with some kind of grant at the very beginning, like 40, 50 years ago, and now is a product. So something like that could happen, but all of that stuff was funded by grants. So like I said, grants are more innovative and more for technology, but those are the idea that you could get a grant for starting up a business is not really something that's reasonable right now, reliable right now. There may be different kinds of programs that crop up, but there are no really grants for starting up a business. Now, just to say that, we do have some resources. If you were looking to do an SBIR grant or an STTR grant, you can find out that link to this stuff here. But we actually do have some grants for businesses who are already, in business. And one of the ones that we have is a program going on right now, which is the Economic Opportunity Grant for small businesses. And what it does is it helps people who have been impacted by COVID and anything else over the last few years. So if you want to take a look at that for your business, things are going on right now. You can go to eog.smallbizla.org, and you can take a look at that and see if the Economic Opportunity Grant is right for you for the County of Los Angeles, which is where we're located. But you can take a look at all this stuff for small businesses, for nonprofits, and things like that. And you can actually get into one of the information sessions to get more information about that particular grant for your business and see if it's right for you. But we do have other resources for grants for different kinds of businesses. We actually put out a newsletter every month, and from our lovely workmate Sophia, who puts out stuff for us, she finds all of the grant opportunities. So if there are any grant opportunities, funding opportunities, and resources, they are in our small business newsletter. So if you want to take a look at that, subscribe to the newsletter so you can get information. We put out grant information every month. Sometimes they're ongoing, sometimes they're new things. So you want to take a look and see if something applies to you. We put out stuff for LA County, San Bernardino County, Riverside County, everything that we can help small businesses with, because we have a lot of, we might have some clients who are, in the area, outside of LA County sometimes, but they're all looking for funding to, whether they're moving from LA to San Bernardino, funding all over the place. There might be something available for you. But okay, so now that we have the grant stuff down, I've kind of, are there any myths I've dispelled about grants? Because grants tend to be the first thing that pops into people's heads. I want a grant to start a business, and that's not really it's not really a thing right now. I mean, we did have the Dream Fund program, but as a as a normal uh, kind of normal state, that's not really a thing that grants do. They're not really for that. But if I've already explained all that stuff, let's move on to our last funding option, which is the most exotic one for a lot of people who may not know about funding themselves. But last category that we have is going to be equity crowdfunding, or just crowdfunding in general. Now, you probably have heard of crowdfunding. You probably have heard of things like GoFundMe or, um, you know, what is it? Give, Send, Go. Those are more for like donations, which is not something we're kind of talking about here, because not a lot of people will give money to for somebody to start a business without getting anything in return. And so one of the first options we're going to be talking about is called equity crowdfunding. Now, just as you can get a bunch of people to give money to somebody for a cause, equity crowdfunding is specifically giving money to start a business. Now, there are a couple of things about this. It hasn't been regulated before. It's regulated now through the SEC, and it's really done through. Let's take a look at this. So it's regulated through the SEC right now since about 2011, and there's some rules. You have to be a registered investor and things like that. But what you do is you give money to a business, and then everybody gets a small percentage of return back. And so that might be something you want to do for a business, especially if you're doing something more like a startup, a larger type of business, kind of like a tech startup or something like that. That might be an option for you if you're looking to start more of a corporation type of deal. But what platforms can you go on to? So there's one popular platform to raise capital for a business, and that's going to be Fundable. There's a bunch of smaller ones and different ones that are aimed towards different types of industries, tech or, tech and different kinds of construction, things like that. So you may want to check online to see which one that you might want to do depending on your industry. But Fundable is one of the biggest ones and more multi-purpose when it comes to funding for your business, as far as equity funding for your business. But the last one is going to be what's called rewards crowdfunding. Now, you probably have heard rewards crowdfunding. It's a little bit different than equity crowdfunding. But basically what it is that you launch a product and you are giving it what's called tiers. So let's kind of give you a rundown of what this looks like, because this is actually a little interesting. So I just picked a random product right here. We have a streaming camera. And what it is that they were looking for $10,000. They already reached their goal, more than what their goal is. But when you go down here, we have information about the product, about the business. But on the side right here, we have our tiers. So if you pledge about $130, you can get a camera. Or if you pledge more than that, you get more cameras or different types of cameras. You can get a kit, things like that. The biggest platforms for this are going to be like Kickstarter and Indiegogo and things like that. So you can, for your contribution, you can get a reward for it, whether it be the product at an early bird special, just the product itself, or even a product and some, swag or, shirts or something like that, some kind of reward as a basically a thank you for, supporting the product, supporting the business, to getting things like that. So a lot of this stuff is, can get a little interesting when it comes to the products and how they're launched. But these are a lot of different options that you can do. You can fund it yourself. You go side hustle, moonlighting, whatever you want, or you can go the more formal route, which is what we usually see with small business loans, micro loans, or even the full SBA loans. If you're looking to buy a building or get into a commercial location, you're going to need a lot of money. And not to say that you may not have that money in the bank, but if you don't, loans might be a good option. If you're looking to do something like research, then the grants would probably be a better option for you. But if you are looking to get more information on all the stuff that we talked about, like I said, I have a bunch of different blog posts and companion articles for our talk today. So you can subscribe at the lavernesbdc.blogspot.com for our small business blog, where you can sign up to see our newsletter. You can sign up to get updates for the funding opportunities for your business. And if you are looking to start a business yourself, you're looking to get help from us with a business plan, figuring out what your product is, how to price it and things like that. All of that stuff can be done in the business plan. But if you do need help, what we can do is you can sign up as a client right now at www.lavernesbdc.org/new client. Sign up as a client. You push that big red button that says get started, and you can register as a client. We'll give you a call right back to schedule an appointment, either in person, virtually via Zoom, however you would like, whatever's comfortable for you and your schedule. But before we close, do we have any more comments? Do we have any more questions? If you do like this, you can follow us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have links, resources, we have videos with companion articles for everything. Whatever on the blog is most likely on YouTube, with step-by-step guides for everything that we have, because we love giving out free resources for our clients and for the business community at large. But that's it for today. Thank you for watching. My name is Josh from the University of La Verne Small Business Development Center. Check out tomorrow. We have our day 4, which is going to be over one of my favorite topics, is going to be video. And we're going to talk about the myths about video and why people don't do it. But thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.